Thorne, America's radio sweetheart. My guest, Dave Willis, is the co-creator of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the Adult Swim cartoon series, which has recently been transformed into the major motion picture event Aqua Teen Hunger Force: movie film for theaters. Dave, welcome to the Sound of Young America.
Well, thanks for having me, Jesse.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force has been a phenomenon, a sort of borderline cult mass phenomena for quite some years. And a good friend of mine worked at a television network, which will remain unnamed, and he was interning there. And all the people ever wanted to talk to him about was Aqua Teen Hunger Force and why people liked it. And I wonder if, as the creator of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, you often get like weird Hollywood types, like trying to pick your brain to discover the secret of appealing to stoned 20-year-olds.
No. I mean, when Matt and I worked on Space Ghost, another co-writer, Matt Harrigan, got a call once from an agent out in Hollywood, and he said, "Well, first off, let me tell you how much I love Space Cop. It really, really, really means the world to me. And I've got this Aladdin idea, this magic lamp. A 14-year-old finds it, and, of course, later on he went on to make millions with Kazam. But no, we get calls every once in a while from Hollywood."
What is it like to produce something like this in Atlanta specifically? I mean, you've always been in Atlanta. Why? Besides that, you could get to meet Chip Carey or something like that.
Right. The Braves, the varsity, the food at the varsity, which stays in your system about as long as it takes to order it. Atlanta's home for me. So, people talk about the show and how is it producing a show here as opposed to L.A. I have no response because I've never, done anything in L.A. The traffic is only slightly worse. The weather's much better. I don't know what, it's home. It's certainly probably insulated from the whole celebrity culture, but now you really can't escape that, I don't guess. So, I don't know. It's a nice little just pocket of crazy people down here that all like to do, have a similar thought process, I guess, towards entertainment.
I think there are probably a lot of folks in the audience of this show who are devotees of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There are probably a roughly equal number who have absolutely no familiarity with it at all. Or maybe they have a modest familiarity with it, but it's negative and related to a news cycle a couple of weeks ago. What is it? Like, how would you describe it to someone who doesn't know what the deal is?
I don't. What I do is I say that I work at Turner Broadcasting, and if they go further with it, I say that I work in the library.
They just assume you work on Dinner and a Movie?
It's so much easier to just pretend like you don't work on it so that you don't have to explain it to people. Because they're not going to tune. They'll say all they want, that they'll check it out, and they won't. So it doesn't matter. Nothing matters, man. You'll either find it and you'll like it, or or you won't. And if you haven't found it already, you're not going to, hey, honey, let's stay up till midnight and and see what else is on.
It is available on digital versatile disc. You don't have to stay up until midnight.
Oh,
right.
That's right. That's right. I should get a TiVo, too. No, now that I have kids, I'm like, I've turned into this totally different person. I'm in bed by 11, but yeah, no, it's I don't, man. I don't try to explain it.
You were working on a television show called Space Ghost, which you alluded to earlier, which is in and of itself a rather curious show. It's a talk show hosted by a legacy cartoon character from that was basically just owned by Turner because they had bought out the Hanna-Barbera archives, and was sort of just the world's strangest case of, repurposing of intellectual content. But even that, its strangeness kind of pales in comparison to Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Like, what was the pitch for Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
It was horribly executed. It was a lot of people pulling out their BlackBerries within the first 10 seconds, me passing out cocktail napkins with crude, almost hieroglyphic drawings on them, no Bible, no thought-out origin story. Actually, no origin story at all. Once we were asked what their origin was, we had to regroup and write one. And they knew us from Space Ghost, so they were happy with our work there. So I think they gave us the money to do it because no one else had any other ideas in the pipeline, maybe, and they wanted to give us enough rope to hang ourselves. And then, had it gone really poorly, we would have been indebted to them for years. And we also had a programming executive, Khaki Jones, who was a friend of ours and who was actually one of the original writers of Space Ghost, and she was incredibly supportive. And I think she could see it right off. And then I think the other folks that we pitched to were curious enough at least to give us the money, which we are eternally grateful for. So.
The show is about a family of fast food products, not a sort of a pseudo family of fast food products.
Yeah, they're not related. They found each other.
Initially, they did sort of detective-y kind of stuff, but that was a pretty brief period of coherence.
About 2 episodes.
Yeah. And they sort of live together in a house. Do you ever think about the relationship between this show and an actual family sitcom like Roseanne or something like that?
Yeah, although they seem to be always light on finances, yet somehow they're able to, buy rocket fuel and incredible robots and other things, even though none of them works. And I think they're on some sort of federal subsistence. They have, and they never meet their landlord. They've alluded to him a couple of times, I guess, but they got a great deal on the house because it doesn't have a bathroom. No one else would rent it. And we have alluded to the detective thing. That was totally imposed on us by the network because I think there was a lot of fatigue on fatigue being some sort of industry term, I guess, on superhero shows, and we weren't really thinking of them as superheroes. We were just thinking of them as just doofuses that just live in a house, and they were sort of made to be detectives, so we made them detectives, and we still allude to them maybe having a closet full of T-shirts that they made that say Aqua Teen Detective Agency, and then they didn't even bother to pass them out.
I guess it should be clarified that while their name is the Aqua Teen Hunger Force, there's no aquatic themes at all, or any outside the fact that their food really that their food and they're kind of hungry sometimes. Not really a lot of hunger themes, and there's definitely not really a force.
If you want the long answer of what we've given people, or do you want the short answer, which is the short answer being it was the first name we came up with because we were thinking Shake would have come up with the name immediately, and he would try to think of the coolest badass name for the group. But the thing we've been telling people is that everyone is made of water, so of course Aqua made sense. Teen, which is the audience that we wanted to watch the show, so we thought if we would include that word, they would think we were speaking to them. Hunger, of course, everyone's hungry. That's relatable. Anything over, a 2 or 3 day period without eating, you're going to be hungry. And force, being 4 would have been a caucus, and 2 would have been a duo. So, 3, force or trio. We could have gone with trio. That'd have been fine. That'd have been a little softer, though. I think force really drives it home.
The point was you didn't have a full caucus, but you did have a quorum?
Yes. Quorum would have been good. We could have called it the Aqua Teen Hunger Quorum.
There would have been a lot more voting on the show, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're implying that the House is run democratically.
Yeah, somehow one of the characters got hold of Robert's Rules of Order.
Right, exactly.
In my imagined version of the program.
Scratched him into the refrigerator with a fork.
It's a totally male universe, or very close to totally male universe.
We try to write realistic women, and they always come out as whores and strippers, which is probably speaks volumes for our minds, and it's unfortunate. It would be really great to write a really great romance for like Meatwad, but you know.
That having been said, I mean, in what way do you see the male characters as being realistic?
I think they're totally relatable, but, you know, I mean, everyone else thinks, you know, pot is involved, and that's, you know, couldn't be further from the case. But, no, I think, you know, I mean, I think in a weird sort of way, had we made the characters zombies or goblins or robots or whatever and kept the personalities the same, I think, you know, people relate to the characters, to the sweet, childlike, you know, idiocy of Meatwad, the Shake, just the bombastic jerk. I mean, we just took the biggest a-hole we know and just multiplied it by 3 and came up with Shake, you know. I think those are, you know, identifiable. I mean, Frylock's a little bit of a sort of a nerd, and but not in the, you know, tape-wearing glasses sort of way that's, you know, usually depicted, you know.
From MaximumFun.org, we now return to my interview with Dave Willis, co-creator of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. You mentioned that childlike quality of Meatwad, and I think there's kind of like an adolescent maleness that pervades these characters' relationships with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's because you're remembering that quality in your relationships, your own relationships, or because you maybe still have a lot of that quality in your own relationships?
I don't know. I mean, I was just laughing because there's a scene in the movie where Oglethorpe is another character, these Plutonians, who we actually named after colleges in Atlanta, Emory and Oglethorpe. But they're college roommates, and Frylock travels back in time to when they're in college. And Oglethorpe just immediately runs into the closet and hides, and he says, "The RA!" And I was like, that was pulled directly from my freshman year of college, you know, when I sort of was just throwing bottles off of a roof, and some RA chased me, and I jumped into a friend's closet. I was like... And it's weird that I've seen the movie 100 times, and I didn't quite realize that that's what we wrote, you know. So yes, the movie is a documentary, and it's filmed in real time.
I was an RA in college. That's actually
That's a crappy way to make money, man.
To get a job in public radio, you're actually required to have been an RA in college. A lot of people don't know that.
I was drunk, so at the time I ripped off my shirt before I ran into the guy's closet because I thought if he sees me with my shirt off, he's going to think the guy throwing bottles had a shirt on, and he's not going to make the connection. And so then when I thought he was gone, I emerged from the closet shirtless, and the guy was like, "Do you know anything about all this pile of broken glass in the courtyard?" And of course, I denied it. And then, that summer, I got the write-up in the mail. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about the movie. How did you come to make a movie of a cartoon show that is, 12 minutes long or 11 minutes long or however long it actually is?
I think the DVD was selling really well, and I think no one expected that. And I think Matt and I sort of knew that we could make a movie with all of the resources here, and we wouldn't need, the Hollywood machine and all that. I mean, it was, if anything, there's probably a closer model to like independent filmmaking, even though, it eventually made its way up the Time Warner food chain. But we talked about it for a while. We knew we could just sort of do it. And then one day Matt came into work. I think he talked to Mike and said, "Hey, I think we got to go ahead and do it." And so we did, and we still made it with the same small group of people. We kept making shows while we were doing it. That's sort of how it came to be. And for better or worse, if you love it or you hate it, it's all our fault. It's not a, we can't say, oh, someone noted it to death, or someone, made us cut out all these great scenes, or they edited all the heart out of it. I mean, no. I mean, it was us the whole way. They were hands off, and then we just got a distributor to just release it. None of the standard none of anything that I've ever read about how movies work. So
when that first wave of success hit with the real big success of the DVDs and the TV show kind of taking off, did you have Hollywood types kind of nosing around and trying to hire you to do rewrites on Herbie the Love Bug 2 or whatever?
We got offered some stuff, and I don't know. Yeah, I personally look at people like, Mike Judge, people that have been able to do their own thing and have, maybe have not always been putting out a movie every year, but at least they've sort of stuck to their guns and been able to do their own thing. We got offered rewrites on a few projects, a few really, really bad projects. There was one about some hot dog vendor. I don't remember.
It's instructive that that's the part that you remember.
Yeah, no, that's all I remember about it. And I don't know, and it just
like I remember Jamie Kennedy was attached at one point.
Right, and it was like the hot dog project, and maybe they knew we were food, and maybe we specialized in something relating to that.
They were like, we went to Mark Summers from the Food Network's Unwrapped, but he turned us down.
Yeah, I mean, we got offered a few things, and a couple of them actually I'll leave nameless because I probably would love to work with them in the future at this point after the reviews came out for this. But no, a couple of things got made, and who knows? I mean, I think we were also a little more naive than a few years ago, when it didn't occur to us that maybe it is kind of amazing to have somebody, call you out of the blue and say, hey, would you help us with our thing? But, it was always better, always seemed better to just, to do our own thing and go from there,
When you decided to make a movie, what was the plan?
The plan was to knock it out in 6 months and have it make $45 million, and then start making the sequel, and clearly none of that has come to pass. It took us 2 years. I mean, someone would say, when's the movie ready? And I would just pull a date out of my head and then watch as that date passes and have people say, no, we still have to up-res these backgrounds, things like that. I mean, we would have, we don't have like half of Korea to our disposal like, some animated shows. I mean, it's really a small group of guys in Atlanta, and it took us a while, and so I mean, it took 2 years to make, and we were also, and also we weren't focused on it like a laser beam. I mean, we were cranking out, Aqua Teens. I was cranking out a side project with Jim Fortier called Squidbillies. Matt was working on a show called 12 Ounce Mouse. I mean, there was an awful lot on our plate, I mean, we're virgins to this whole process. It's been pretty eye-opening.
My guest is Dave Willis, co-creator of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. What was the plan, like, artistically speaking? Like, did you guys have some idea of how it would be different or the same in, 80 or 90-minute movie as opposed to a 10-minute TV show?
Only in that it would take longer to write, which it took 4 afternoons. And then a year later, it took another couple of afternoons after we saw a cut, and we were like, uh-oh. And we scrapped so much of that first cut that we're not having deleted scenes on our DVD. We're having a deleted movie on the DVD. You can click on it, and it's a feature-length waste of time. It's colossal. It would be colossal if it were expensive, but it's clearly, far enough down the road where we could see this would be a complete and utter failure.
What was wrong with it the first time around?
Can I say that some critics have said that this is a plot, that our current movie is plotless? Well, if you want to see plotless, go out and buy the DVD and see the deleted. And it's got lots of little bits here and there that are funny, but, it really, I don't know. It just never quite kicked off, and it just never. And I know, it's like there's like a traditional arc. I mean, you just pick up any dumb screenwriting book in Barnes and Nobles, and you can see like, what they say. Things have to be revealed at certain windows, and we screw all that. We just sort of threw it all out there, and for better or worse, it does not perform like a normal movie. I would say should, but no. I mean, it does not perform like most movies do.
So, but how did you change it? Because the movie that I saw was, I enjoyed it a lot, or else you wouldn't be on the show right now. But it was almost certainly one of the least plotted films I've ever seen in a theater.
And yet it was heavily plotted. Or maybe maybe that's. Oh, I'm reading PLODDED. That's what a critic said. It heavily plotted across the screen, like erosion. It worked its way to me. You know what? Maybe the deleted movie is just as entertaining, only completely different. I have no point of reference at this point. It's I'll never see the movie again. I can guarantee you that. Even when I have grandkids, I'll never watch it again. But because I've seen it clearly plenty of times. But I don't. What was your question?
The question was what did you change between the first time and the second time?
No. I mean, there's a whole subplot involving these rims, that Carl gets on his car. Carl gets like the ultimate sex machine. He gets his car all pimped out with these rims that hypnotize women into thinking he's attractive. And there was just this whole subplot with that went nowhere. There's just a bunch of I couldn't even begin to describe it. Then Carl gets hypnotized by his own rims, and he's used as a tool against the Aqua Teens. And I don't know. And there was a lot with Carl in his car, but that sort of infected like the whole movie. So
it seems like what you ended up with was in some ways a joke on the sort of movies that take a popular character and then explain their origin and then sort of reveal the deep psychological implications of that origin.
Yeah. Well, we never. Like I said, when we pitched the thing, we never came up with an origin because we kind of thought that was irrelevant, and it didn't make it any more interesting. I mean, why do you have to know where they live? I mean, if you just plop down on a typical afternoon at the Aqua Teen house, I think that's more interesting. And I think it was cool too that after 5 or 6 years, we never really addressed it, and we actually felt like, wow, well that's actually a big enough story that we could do a movie on it, and not just some sort of quick little 11-minute wrap up story. So. Yeah, I mean, I guess we make fun of it in our own way, but we're not really parodying anything. I think we just I don't know. I don't know why we did it, man. I don't know. No one ever asked me. I never had to tell anybody.
Are you happy with it?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I think fans will like it. I think it's. I mean. I went on a flight, right, to L.A. We had a press day for this. 5 movies I could have watched, right? 3 of them I shut off. And I'm just sitting there going, people have questions about the movie. Take a flight to L.A. and look at what you have, as a choice for entertainment. And I won't name those movies because, like I said, I would love to work with each and every one of those people in the future, but I mean, how bad could our movie be, really? I mean, really? I mean, look at what's out there, I mean, there's so much crap. Like, it's just it's just a goof on that, and it's 80 minutes. It's a great time. I think, yeah, I see things on the screen where I'm like, oh, I wish we could have, maybe we could have reworked that. But, after a while, I mean, you just have to, it's like the SATs. It's like pencils down, turn in your paper. I think there are things in there that I'm really proud of. I think there's some really funny stuff in there, and some stuff that doesn't work, and maybe you don't really see that until you see it with an audience, and then it's like, then it becomes abundantly clear.
Well, Dave, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on The Sound of Young America.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dave Willis is the co-creator of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Their film, Aqua Teen Hunger Force: movie film for theaters, is in theaters right now. You can also catch the Aqua Teens as part of Cartoon Network's Adult Swim block of late-night programming.